Hi, everyone. Shannon LaMarche from Premier Luxury Travel, and we are here tonight to hear all about one of my favorite new cruise brands called Atlas Ocean Voyages. They are a Luxe-Adventure company, and I'll let my co-host Cathy from Atlas Ocean Voyages tell you all about what you are going to experience tonight. So Cathy, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Thanks, Shannon. It's been awesome working with you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about my brand. I get super excited about it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro about who we are, kind of go through what Luxe-Adventure means, because it's kind of a niche that we've carved out for ourselves in the industry. I'll tell you a little bit about the itineraries, obviously our ships and where we come from. And then we'll have a major focus tonight on Antarctica, because we know it's a bucket list destination for a lot of people. It's the 7th continent, so a lot of really fun stuff. And I've got some pictures that I like to show of it as well that are, not necessarily your professional photographer photos. I always like to put a personal touch in there. And these are pictures from a friend and a former colleague of mine that was there just a little more than a year ago, just before kind of all this pandemic stuff happened. And I just like to share a lot of those photos so that people see exactly what you would see if you were there from your eyes too. So I'm excited tonight. So thanks. And I'm going to jump right in. As Shannon said, my name is Cathy and I work for Atlas Ocean Voyages. I'm the director of sales for the East Coast. And I've been in the cruise industry for 23 going on 24 years this year. And I have to say that of all the different companies and cruise brands that I've worked for, this one excites me the most. I'm a ship nerd. I even worked on ships at the very beginning of my career and really, really love it, and kind of have the sea in my blood. So I get really excited when I start to think about something new and exciting. So this really marries a couple of different elements within the cruise industry, and I'll show you exactly what I mean as we get into it. And I welcome your questions at the end as well to see if I can help you with anything at all. So we are a small ship line, brand new. And I'd like to kind of tell everybody why small is the new big. I think there's a lot of reasons, especially these days, that people are looking to small ship cruising as cruising comes back to being more of a norm. And we certainly fit the bill for that. We have 5 ships on order, and I'll tell you a little bit about that here shortly. Atlas Ocean Voyages, like I said, is brand new. Our parent company, however, is not. They are based in Portugal. They're called Mystic Invest Holding. It's a large umbrella in the travel company with several different cruise lines that are all European brands and European facing. Duro Azul Cruises, Mystic Cruises, Nico Cruises. And I only point that out just so that you know that even though we're a brand new small company and we're based in the United States, we do have a large financial backing with over 25 years experience in the cruise industry behind us as well. So I always like to kind of point that out just in the beginning. And we are a new all-inclusive travel brand. We are North American facing. Our product will be that you would be accustomed to sailing on. If you've sailed on luxury before or even expedition, we kind of marry those two different sides of the cruise industry. We call ourselves all inclusive all the way, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean in a couple of slides here by showing you all of the different things that are included in every single voyage that you book with Shannon. We try not to nickel and dime. We know that especially in an upscale line like ours and these unique destinations, that people just want to pay one price and know exactly what to expect when they get on board and not have to worry about anything. We try to take care of all of that for you as best we can. Again, I mentioned that we're a small ship, and by small ship, I mean just under 10,000 tons, less than 200 guests on board. And we've kind of coined the phrase Luxe-Adventure. I'll tell you a little bit more about that on the next slide, but again, we're trying to marry that upscale luxury small ship feeling with an expedition, a little bit more adventurous and exciting cruise experience as well. Our first of 5 ships is called the World Navigator. And she makes her debut on her first official cruise with guests on board at the end of July this year. We were never supposed to sail before July of 2021, which is a great thing. So someone had some amazing foresight several years ago when this concept was all thought up. So we are right on target. And I actually have a few photos that I'll show you just from this past week, where our first ship, World Navigator, completed her sea trials and is looking great and looking beautiful. And I'll show you a couple of other pictures of our future ships as well. So Luxe-Adventure is this new term we've kind of coined in the industry. We saw somewhat of a need in the cruise market for, again, an upscale experience, a luxury experience that also captures a more adventurous expedition feel to it, going to remote places and taking deeper dives into different destinations and itineraries, and having those experiences, but for people who like to be spoiled and pampered while they're on board and like the finer things in life. So that's kind of where we came up with the Luxe-Adventure term. So we refer to ourselves as luxe versus luxury quite often because we don't want to come across as stuffy or overly formal. That is not who we are at all. We have a very simple, elegant, and somewhat laid back and casual atmosphere on board. But don't get us wrong, we will have all of the 5-star amenities and appointments you can imagine on other luxury lines. It's just that we want you to be comfortable and we want you to really revel in the destinations and experiences that you're having in these places, whether you just come off of an expedition from a Zodiac in Antarctica, or you've come off an amazing tour in Egypt, or an amazing experience in the Amazon in South America, and you come back on board the ship. We don't want you to have to rush to get ready for dinner and have to make a set time. We really want you to stop, let your hair down a little bit, have a cocktail if you want to, just relax and really revel in what you experienced and enjoy that aspect of it. So needless to say, we are not formal on board. Everything will be resort casual at all times. And everything will be open seating with the exception of a few restaurant opportunities or culinary experiences with limited capacity. And of course, those will require reservations in advance, but everything else is open seating and kind of a come as you are type vibe. Again, it's a very simple elegance on board, and the idea is to really have it comfortable and have you feel very comfortable with the service. The service on board will be 5-star, very upscale, but it will also be approachable and friendly as well. And when we look at the adventure side, so when we talk about luxe and adventure, when you look at the adventure side, sometimes that word scares people a little bit. Sometimes people are super attracted to the word adventure and they're like, yes, it's amazing. There's so many great things. And I know you're looking at some of these pictures that I'm showing you. And yes, we will have things like hang gliding. We'll have camping overnight on the ice. We'll have hot air balloon rides over the rock formations in Cappadocia, whitewater rafting trips. We'll have these more adventurous type optional shore excursions, but rest assured that we will have different levels for everyone and what caters to your taste and what you prefer to do on your vacations as well. We'll have your more traditional historical and cultural tours available. We'll have some unique culinary experiences as well. And we'll also have some things that are a little bit more adventurous. So that's where the adventure comes in. But in terms of what Atlas means by adventure, we say that we equate the word adventure with experiences, and adventure is a very personal thing. So to you, skydiving might be considered adventure, but to me, walking around in a new port of call that I've never been to before and sampling the local cuisine is adventurous. So it really is, we do try and span the gamut and cover it for everyone on board in terms of what we mean by that. So I did mention earlier that we are all inclusive all the way. So everything that you see on the screen right now is included in every single journey that you book. So when you call Shannon to ask and inquire about any of our sailings, you can rest assured that everything you see in front of you is automatically included in the price. And we try to start We try to include as much as we can and anticipate what you're going to need on board beforehand, so you don't have to worry about it once you're there. And I'll start off with a biggie, and that is round trip economy airfare is always included from 16 different major gateways in the US and Canada, along with ground transfers. And by ground transfers, I mean, obviously, your transfers from the airport to the ship, and from the ship when you disembark back to the airport. So those are always included. You can upgrade. It's huge. It's major. And especially when you see where some of the ports that we're visiting and some of the embark and debark ports as well, we take you to some unique destinations in some very different places as well. But we do think that, you know, it just takes the hassle out and makes things a lot easier, and your vacation starts almost immediately rather than having to wait and tack on different costs and different factors to your vacation. We also have upgradable options, so you can always talk to Shannon. If you want to upgrade to business class or first class, you absolutely can do that, but we do include the round trip economy air. Now, specific to our Antarctica sailings, this is a unique feature and is really a game changer when we look at the expedition market. We decided, because all of our itineraries are round trip Ushuaia, Argentina, for Antarctica, we realized that the lift getting people down to Argentina can be a little bit tricky sometimes. It always adds on, of course, additional cost, and also tacks on a couple of days on either end of your vacation. That's just the way it is. A lot of times getting down there, you have to change airports within the same city, and you can't always get there on the specific day that you're looking to get there on. So again, it'll tack on that time on either end. So we just decided to eliminate all of that and to charter our own plane. So we include private charter jet service for all of our Antarctica sailings, and that is round trip Orlando, Florida to Ushuaia, Argentina. And again, that economy airfare is included from one of the 16 major gateways to Orlando, so that's also included, and then from Orlando down to Ushuaia is included in the price of our Antarctica sailing.
You know what makes me really excited about that? That was probably the one thing that just jumped out at me when I first talked to you guys last year, was anybody can get to Orlando from anywhere in the United States. It's very simple. It's a very popular destination. There's hundreds of flights going there every single day from all over the place. And once you're there and you guys just take care of us from, you know, from Orlando all the way down, and then you can just relax. I just think that was really, really smart. And I love that.
And I think that, you know, we say that your vacation literally starts the moment you step on board that chartered plane. It will be an Atlas experience. It is themed Atlas. We'll have food there to feed you. We'll have drinks flowing if you'd want. We'll have pillow gifts. It's an overnight flight. You know, we try to make it as comfortable and, again, as much a part of the experience as we possibly can. We also upgrade all of our suite guests automatically on that chartered flight from Orlando to Ushuaia to business class. So if you're booked in a suite for the cruise, you will also be in business class for that flight down to Ushuaia, which again is a huge savings and also a kind of an exciting part of the trip as well. We automatically include for Antarctica, always include all of our fully guided expeditions. We have 18 Zodiacs on board each of our ships. They will all be fully guided. We do 2 landings per day in Antarctica, and we also do ice cruises, and I'll explain a little bit later what exactly that means, but those are fully included in the price. There are a few optional shore excursions if you'd like to, but again, those are more on the adventurous side, but all of your Antarctica expeditions are included in the price. And for our non-Antarctica sailings, because we do sail all around the world, we automatically include 1 shore excursion per person per port. And we actually give you a menu so that you can choose which shore excursion you'd like to take. So depending on the size of the port will determine how many choices you have, but you'll always have at least 2, sometimes 3 or 4 choices of tours that you can take. Of course, you can always upgrade and do something a little more adventurous or a little longer tour. We've got some overland and some land package tours as well. So you have a lot of options there. But again, we include at least one tour per person per port in the price automatically. We also have kayaks and paddle boards on board. So for our warm water destinations or any of our destinations that are not Antarctica, those are available complimentary to all of our guests for use. We actually do have kayaks and paddle boards in Antarctica as well, but because of safety reasons, it is considered an optional tour that you have to pre-book there as well. We, of course, include all of your gourmet international cuisine on board the ship, all of your unlimited beer, wine, and spirits, that's all included. We consider ourselves a green ship, so we do provide you with reusable bottles for filtered water. Of course, gratuities are included. Your standard Wi-Fi is included. If you have a suite, butler service is automatically included as well. And we partner with Luxe-Adventure. And maybe you've heard of them before. They have this amazing, luxurious smelling bath amenities. So they, all of our stateroom bathrooms will have Luxe-Adventure products in them, and that, of course, is all included. And we also partner with Luxe-Adventure for our sea spa on board as well. So I'll get into that in a little bit. And something that we announced at the end of last year as well, which again is the first in the industry, is that we include emergency evacuation and return insurance in the price of the cruise for every single guest for every single cruise. It's not uncommon for other expedition cruise lines to require you to purchase this insurance, because when you go to remote destinations such as Antarctica, there's not a whole lot in sight. And if for some reason there was some sort of medical emergency on board that could not be handled by the doctors and nurses there in our medical facility, this insurance would cover the transportation costs to get you from the ship to the closest destination for medical treatment and from that location home. So it's a great peace of mind insurance policy to have that's automatically included for every single guest on board. It does not replace travel insurance. It's not trip cancellation or any of that. That is still available, obviously, through Shannon, but it does cover the cost of the transportation in the event of an unlikely emergency situation in one of those remote destinations. So let's get into World Navigator a little bit. This is our first baby. We're very excited about her, and she makes her debut in this summer in July of 2021. She's the first of a series of 5 sister ships, and they're all just under 10,000 tons, and they're all green. We're very proud of the fact that the ships coming out of the shipyard for us are all very environmentally friendly. So we featured this new hybrid propulsion technology that is propellerless. Now we do have propellers, but this technology allows us to cruise up to 5 knots without using our propellers, which is, saves us significantly on fuel costs, and again, makes us very environmentally friendly in that way. We consume significantly less fuel than other ships of our size because of it. And then we also have this really unique anchorless positioning system. Again, because we're going to remote destinations and we like to get up close and personal to see wildlife and glaciers and those types of things, this allows us to do so without disturbing any of the marine environment. So again, really proud of the fact that all of our ships will be green. Of course, because we know it's forefront on everyone's minds these days, our ships are brand spanking new out of the shipyard. And we will feature the latest technology and safety protocols available at the time of the ship's launch. We are working on detailing exactly what that means, and given the current global situation right now, things seem to be changing by the day about what you can and can't do and what's required and not required. Travel to different destinations is changing, and their requirements of different countries and ports of call are all changing. So we're keeping a close watch on that and are detailing exactly what those safety protocols will be and requirements prior to embarking the ship as well. So we will get those out to all of our travel advisor partners. So Shannon will have a copy of those as soon as they are finalized and ready to go. We're looking forward to welcoming guests on board the ship, so we can't wait. We have a total of 98 staterooms and suites on board our ship. And I'll show you a few renderings here in just a couple minutes. So our max capacity for our non-Antarctica voyages is 196 guests. That's double occupancy. But in Antarctica, we only fill the ship to 186 guests. And the reason we do that is because we set aside some of our staterooms for our expedition team leaders and our experts that come on board as well. We have a very high crew to guest ratio. It's 1 to 1.4. So again, that attention to detail and service, just like any other major 5-star cruise line that you would expect. We have 7 different dining options, which I'll actually give you a sneak peek on here in just a few minutes. And we have 2 main lounges and an auditorium. One main lounge is on deck 4 along with our auditorium, and that's where all of our nightly entertainment will take place, any of our safety briefings for your expeditions, and all of our expert speakers will be featured there in the auditorium as well. So of course we'll have people to talk about the history of the destinations that you're visiting, cultural experiences and cultural performances when possible will be done there as well. But we'll also have some unique guest speakers on. We'll have astronauts on board. We'll have some financial speakers that are very popular on board. We'll have some pop culture speakers as well, and we'll do so in somewhat of a TED Talk type format as well. So we will keep everyone entertained throughout the voyage, but also in the evenings as well. We will have a band, we'll have guest entertainers every night, and we'll have a pianist on board for a piano bar type atmosphere. So lots of things to do on board. It won't be boring in the evenings. You know, we'll have a really great lineup of entertainment for people. We won't have Broadway style review shows, but we may have singers and a few specialty dancers and that type of thing, but it won't be your typical mass market type entertainment that you may have been accustomed to on some of the larger ships. We do have another lounge all the way forward on deck 7 called the Dome Observation Lounge, and I'll show you some renderings of that here in just a few minutes too, which is super exciting. We will also be working on some pop-up entertainment venues and some pop-up culinary experiences too, so no 2 cruises will be exactly alike.
I love the yeah, you're doing the culinary experiences, even
for
in
sure.
Antarctica. That's really awesome.
For sure. I mean, it's very popular these days. Everybody wants to have unique culinary experiences and all of that. So we thought it was important.
Like really
of course. Absolutely. Up on deck 7, we have a heated pool and a couple of hot tubs up there. And then on deck 4, we have our well-being area. So we will have a focus on health and wellness on board our ships. We'll be offering classes. They're all complimentary. There's no charge for anything that we do on board additional, with the exception of our spa and our gift shop, basically, and some optional shore excursions. That's really about it. Everything else is fully included. And we do have a fitness studio, so we'll have some fitness classes that we'll offer. And then we have our Luxe-Adventure Sea Spa. So we're partnering again with Luxe-Adventure for all of their amazing spa products, but also some of their exclusive spa treatments, some of their massages and facials. So again, a really upscale product that will be on board our ship as well. And then I think my favorite part of the ship is called Water's Edge. So if you look at the picture of the ship on the screen, all the way forward at the bow of the ship, you'll see that exterior observation deck there, just that open deck space. That's called Water's Edge. It's only 30 feet above sea level, and that's a great place to go during scenic cruising. So if we're cruising, for example, the Amalfi Coast, or going through the Corinth Canal in Greece, or if we're in Antarctica, of course, when you're out there, you want to do some whale watching or look for the wildlife or watch the glaciers and the ice calving. It's a great place to go. And then during cold water itineraries, we actually have heated benches placed out there so you can stay warm while you bear the elements out there and really stay in touch with nature. I feel like I'm a cruiser at heart. I love being on a ship, but I also like remembering that I'm on a ship. Some of these big monstrosities that they have out there these days are really cool. They've got amazing bells and whistles on board, but I don't always feel like I'm cruising, and I forget I'm on a ship. I feel like I'm at a theme park or something, or a big city. And I think, you know, for being on a small ship, especially an expedition style ship, it's really nice to have a lot of open deck space and places where you can go and actually feel like you're at sea.
And I really feel like it's more of a yacht type experience versus,
for sure,
you know, a big ship. So
absolutely. And people liken it a little bit to river cruising just because the experience on board is similar. The ships are very different in that way, but it is a very similar type experience of being small and intimate.
Right, really intimate, and getting to know your fellow passengers. By the end of it, you're probably developing lifelong friendships.
Absolutely, that's the idea.
Yeah.
So here are a couple of renderings of some of our accommodations. So I mentioned we have 98 staterooms on board. The most popular being, of course, we've got 3 different categories of 1-bedroom suites. And those all have a separate living room area and a separate bedroom area, which have an exit out onto a 106 extended square foot balcony. And I'll show you a couple pictures of those on the next slide. But the majority of the staterooms that are super popular so far have been our Horizon and our Veranda staterooms. So we all kind of categorize those as balcony cabins or veranda cabins. They're just two different types. We have 4 different categories. We've got 2 different categories of verandas and 2 different of horizons. So if you see the, let's start with a picture actually on the right-hand side. You'll see the sliding glass door there, and that has an exit out onto a 52 square foot outdoor balcony. And that is your traditional veranda. You've got a little table and chairs, and you can actually sit out on your balcony and really enjoy the sights there from your own stateroom. We've got several different categories of those in different sizes and different positions on board the ship. But then we also have our Horizon stateroom, and that is the one on the left-hand side. And you can see in that photo there that we have replaced the sliding glass door in that exterior balcony with a floor-to-ceiling window. And we've incorporated that balcony square footage into the actual living space of the room. And part of that window actually opens up. So you'll see that black bar across the center. Anything above that black bar actually opens. So you can take in the sights and the fresh air and the sounds. And when you're finished, you close the window and you've got all that additional living space in your stateroom. So they've been very popular. Other cruise lines call them an infinity balcony or a French balcony. We call them a Juliet style balcony, but those are our Horizon staterooms. But again, 2 different types that give you a really good feel for being in touch with the destination that you're visiting. And on the next slide are suite and stateroom amenities. The 2 smaller pictures there at the top on the left-hand side are of our 1-bedroom suite. So you can see that it's the living room area, and then you've got the bedroom area, both separate spaces, but they obviously have a doorway that connects both of them. And then they also have, both have entrances out onto that extended 106 square foot balcony there. And then the picture below that is our adventure stateroom is what we call them. We have just a handful of those, especially in Antarctica. We only have just a few of those available. There's a total right now of 12 of those on board our ships, but those are our ocean view staterooms. So it just has a large picture window, 183 square feet. And again, we only have 12. But we do have some available. Now, I'll give you a little sneak peek and preview that hasn't officially been announced yet, so don't tell anybody. But these adventure staterooms, once we complete our first season in Antarctica, which concludes in March of 2022, the ship will be taken into wet dock for traditional soft good changes and upgrades and that type of thing. And we will actually be converting these 12 staterooms. We'll convert some of them into 1-bedroom solo suites. So it'll be for single travelers at one price. So it won't be a single supplement type scenario. It's a really great ability to be able to have some single staterooms available. Some of the other staterooms are going back to dedicate to some of our crew because we have so many guest speakers and things on board, but we will have a handful of these solo suites available after March of 2022. But they'll look exactly the same.
That's really great.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd point out just a few things that are included with our stateroom in terms of amenities. Obviously, they all have queen size beds and they do convert into singles. I have a lot of questions about that if they're stationary, but you can separate them if needed. There's an oversized interactive flat panel TV in our suites. Obviously they have 2 in 2 different areas, and some of our Horizon staterooms also have 2, but they have live on-demand audio, movie, TV programming available as well. We do have Bluetooth connectivity on board for smartphones and your tablets, and we do have 5 USB ports. I know that's super important to people these days, so you can charge all of your electronics on board. You'll have a fully stocked mini fridge there, a digital safe, which I think is pretty standard. But what I think is amazing, and if you've ever been on a cruise before, you know that bathrooms traditionally are small. If you take a look at the picture there, I included that specifically. These are some of the most luxurious, amazing bathrooms I've ever seen in the cruise industry. You actually, every single stateroom, including our outside staterooms, our lowest stateroom category, includes this amazing marble bathroom. Of course, I mentioned the Luxe-Adventure bath amenities, but they all have this walk-in shower with all of these different jets and a rain shower. So it's a really cool experience and a really nice, luxurious feel as well, just in the bathrooms alone. So I thought it was pretty neat. Of course, you've got your hairdryer and robes and slippers, and you'll have your daily turn down and makeup service. 24-hour room service is available, which is great, so no one goes hungry. There's lots of different dining venues and options on board, but you can also dine in your stateroom or on your balcony if you'd like. And of course, Wi-Fi is included. So I've been showing a few of these renderings here, and the ones you see on the screen now, one is of the Dome Observation Lounge, which I'll show you in the next slide. We have a rendering of our dining room as well as our lobby reception area there at the bottom. But these are our designers, Ontem Ponto from Portugal. They're very famous Portuguese designers. Our ship is actually being built in Portugal and has a lot of Portuguese influence because our parent company is based in Portugal. They've done a lot of really unique things, designing the Ritz-Carlton in Portugal and some different designer spaces and hotels in London as well. So they're giving us a very modern, luxurious, but contemporary feel on board the ship. So all of the renderings that you see so far are as a result of these two gentlemen here on the screen. And then the Dome Observation Lounge I've been talking about is our main lounge that's located all the way forward on deck 7. It's just above the bridge of the ship. It has 270-degree views all the way around, floor-to-ceiling windows. It's a great place for scenic cruising. You see, we call it the dome because you see that picture of the dome up top. It's a beautiful skylight to let in a lot of natural light. So during the day, it's a nice quiet nook to come and actually enjoy. If you don't want to brave the elements out on water's edge outside, you can always come up to the Dome Lounge and really take in the sights from there and scenic cruising. In the afternoons and for lunchtime, we'll serve a light lunch there if you choose. This is one of our dining options that's available. And then in the evenings, this becomes a much more lively atmosphere. We'll have our piano here, so it'll turn into a piano bar type atmosphere, interactive, fun, lively music, not chamber music. So we will have some entertainment. Of course, there's a bar here and we'll have hors d'oeuvres and things to keep everyone entertained and quite happy. And of course, I mentioned earlier our a focus on health and well-being. So we do have our fitness studio is one of our renderings here with fitness classes that are, again, all included, no additional charge for those. And again, we will also have a unique little juice and smoothie bar in between our fitness studio and our sea spa as well. I'll talk to you about that when we get to the dining slide. And then, of course, we do have our heated pool and our hot tubs up on deck 7, and we have a jogging track that goes all the way around up on deck 8. So plenty of opportunity for you to stay fit and active and to keep up with your normal lifestyle. I know some people think, oh, I go on a cruise and I just pig out, but we do have the options for people to really enjoy themselves, but then also not feel so guilty about doing so. And then, of course, we have our sea spa sponsored by L'Occitane. And again, these are some amazing products, and I've seen a sneak peek at some of the exclusive treatments that they have too. So these really cool different types of massages and facials and rejuvenating treatments that, again, are exclusive to L'Occitane, which is a very luxurious upscale product line anyway. And we do have 2 treatment rooms. We've got our sauna and, of course, our lovely chairs there that you can look out onto the scenery as well. So again, you remember where you are and you actually see the destination there. I saw a few photos from the ship's sea trials, and of course, all of the interiors are still being worked out. All the soft goods are being put in place right now, but it looks identical to what you see on the screen to these renderings here. So it's really coming along and looking really beautiful. And of course, the entertainment on board I touched on earlier, but we'll have guest entertainers every single night in our auditorium. We'll have singers, we'll have some specialty type of entertainment that will be there. We'll have a band, we'll have pianists. There will be a dance floor as well in our main lounge as well. So if you want to do some dancing, we welcome that as well. And again, our lecture series, we'll have some amazing experts from all different walks of life and different subjects to keep people entertained, but also educated if they choose to on board. And really, we're trying to really embrace the destinations that we're visiting so that you feel like you're not only visiting, but you're prepared, that you understand it, and that you really learn something and take something away from it as well. So here are 7 dining options on board that we've just released. This is hot off the press. I'll start with what's at the very bottom. We have around-the-clock room service 24 hours. So again, no one will go hungry. You will always have food and something available to eat. But our main dining room is called Porto, of course, because we're the first Portuguese flagship in many, many, many years to come out and set sail. We are kind of excited about our Portuguese heritage. So Porto is our main dining room, and that will be where the majority of the meals take place. And again, no set dining times. It's all open seating and all resort casual, no formal nights at all on board. Then we also have 7 Aft, which is our alternative steakhouse dining area, aptly named. She is located on deck 7, all the way aft on the ship. But it's American style grill. It'll feature this unique type of new approved grill that can actually be used on board, a charcoal grill on board ships, which is great. We'll also have a couple experiences that will be incorporated into existing dining areas throughout the cruise. And one of those is Alma, again, Portuguese heritage specialties that will be more of a pop-up experience where you can make reservations for them in advance. So Alma will be one of those experiences in our main dining room, which again gives you the option to have a unique menu that is all specialized and geared toward Portuguese flair and Portuguese cuisine. Then, of course, I mentioned before the dome, we have a light lunch that'll be served daily up there. If you just feel like grabbing something light and enjoying the view and enjoying the cruising, you can absolutely do so. And then Paula's Pantry is the grab-and-go restaurant that I talked about that's in between the fitness studio and the sea spa. So again, they'll have juice and smoothies there, but they'll also have specialty coffees and snacks and things that you can kind of grab along the way throughout the day. And then Journeys, which we're very proud of as well, is the first plant-based restaurant at sea. So again, this will be a limited capacity opportunity throughout the voyage that you'll need to make reservations for, but it will be all plant-based menu, and you'll have the option to really experience something unique in that way as well. And we know that that's a very popular thing for people these days. So again, very excited to have Journeys on board our ship. So no one will go hungry. You have lots of different unique dining options for everybody, and look forward to having you testing out and trying each and every one of them. So when do we set sail? Yay, I'm excited. So I told you I had a few pictures that I incorporated. I kind of threw these in last minute as I'm able to do so, since I just recently saw some pictures from our parent company. So World Navigator, our first ship, just completed her sea trials this past week and officially handed the ship over to Atlas Ocean Voyages. So yay, we're official.
You are official.
Yeah. So our first of 5 babies was born, so we're excited. So the picture on the left-hand side is of World Navigator after she got her nice coating of paint there on her hull. You can actually see a couple of her anchors there. And this was just before, obviously, right after she was painted, and she obviously had already been floated out, but right before her sea trials. The picture there at the top is an image of the tugboat actually towing the ship out to get her ready for her official sea trial so that she could start up on her own. And you'll see the pictures there in the center one. You can see the tow line. Again, it's just a different angle coming out of the dock there. And then one that's a little bit fuzzy there in the center, but that is her. That was taken from a helicopter. That is her actually sailing on her own on her sea trial. So we're very excited about that. She did beautifully, performed beautifully. And if you know anything about shipbuilding, they really put you to the test there, do lots of unique things and turns and make sure that everything works perfectly. So had lots of good reports about that. So that was great. And then the last 2 pictures at the bottom, I thought I would throw those in there as well. The one at the bottom, you see, it looks kind of rusty. It's not, but that's just kind of the color of the metal and the hull initially. That is World Traveler, our second ship that will be delivered to us in the summer of 2022. She's coming along beautifully and will be floated out here, obviously, very soon in this picture. And then we also, the one beside that, it looks like a hunk of metal, which kind of is, but that is the keel that was laid for World Seeker. And that is our third ship that is going to be delivered to us in the fall of 2022. So we're coming right along. So 3 of the 5 ships are underway. We're probably going to lay the keel for our next ship very soon. So stay tuned for more details on that. I just always like to kind of point these out so that people know that it really is happening and they are brand new ships and in the shipyard. And again, it's super exciting for us. So right now we have announced all of our destinations for our inaugural season for World Navigator. So these are actually bookable right now. We're starting off in the Black Sea. We do 2 cruises in the Black Sea starting in July of this year. We do 4 in the Holy Land, which right now we're kind of looking at those itineraries. Most of those incorporate Turkey, Israel, and Egypt. Obviously, given the unrest right there in the current situation right now, we're looking at updating those itineraries, and I should know more by the end of the week exactly what that looks like. We'll probably, we're definitely pulling out of Israel completely, unfortunately, for this year for 21, and we're looking at whether or not we can navigate still into Egypt. We'll probably replace a lot of these with some Greek Isles cruises. And we have 2 Western Med cruises before we have a transatlantic that takes place in October, early October, that takes us from Lisbon all the way over to Barbados on a 13-night voyage. So if you like sea days, it has 8 sea days in total. We'll have lots of programming and entertainment to keep you entertained on board. But I love those. I love sea days. I love relaxing. It's a great time for you to really take in cruising on its own. We have 1 Caribbean Amazon cruise that actually takes you into the mouth of the Amazon in Belém. And then we have 2 South America cruises that take you down the eastern coast of South America before ending up in Ushuaia, Argentina. And that's in November, and that kicks off our Antarctica season. So it gets us in the perfect position to start up our season. So about half the year, our ships will sail all around the world to different destinations. And the other half of the year, we will be sailing in the polar region, specifically Antarctica right now, but we will be venturing up to the Arctic as well. So I thought I'd give you
Alaska at some point.
Maybe. It's not on the docket just yet, but once we have 5 ships out, it's possible that we'll do Alaska, but we won't do traditional Alaska, I would imagine, if we do. I think it will be more smaller islands and off the beaten path type of itineraries. I don't think it won't be your typical Alaska type cruise if we do. But so far that hasn't been announced. But what we have announced, and these should be available here in the next couple of days or so. I actually have the itineraries that I'll share with Shannon as well, specifically for our 2022 spring, summer, and fall season. We're going to visit places, again, South America, but both coasts, east and west coasts of South America. We'll do some deep Southern Caribbean, a couple of those. We will be doing a lot of Baltic and Scandinavian fjords cruises. I think people are super excited about British Isles. Of course, we'll always throw in Eastern and Western Med when we can. But I think the biggest thing that people are looking forward to is Iceland, Greenland, and the North Cape. So again, us venturing all the way up north into the Arctic is super exciting for a lot of people. And then we will be doing a Monaco and Grand Prix week there. So we will have our ship stationed in Monaco for a week during the Grand Prix. Right now, we may or may not be chartered for that. We're waiting to see. We have some things in the works, but if not, we will operate as a hotel ship there. So keep that in mind if you're interested in maybe visiting there, that there may be some options other than hotels that will be available.
That's really
during
exciting.
that time period.
That's a very popular thing to do.
Absolutely. And finding hotels and tickets and all of that is very, very difficult to do. So stay tuned.
Yes.
as I get more information for that, I will certainly pass that on to you. But let's jump right into our Antarctica expedition. So I can kind of give you an idea and some background on what Antarctica is like. If you've been on cruises before and you're familiar with typical cruising, I can tell you, and you've never been on an expedition cruise, I can tell you it is night and day different in terms of the experience that you have shoreside. A lot of times people think that they're going to go to Antarctica and get off in some really small ports of call, walk around and see some unique things. And that is really not the case at all. There are no ports of call. There are no small towns. It is truly an expedition experience. And like I said, we have 18 Zodiacs on board our ships. Each Zodiac will hold 10 people, including your guide. And it truly is an expedition. And it is, again, a bucket list type trip. It's, for a lot of people, a once in a lifetime thing that they really want to do. And from what I understand, it is super life-changing and almost surreal. And I'll show you some pictures here shortly to kind of show you, you'll get kind of an idea of what I mean by that. But again, if you've never been to that 7th continent and you need to get there, you can absolutely do so on Atlas. Actually, because our ships actually depart from South America, you hit 2 continents in one cruise, which is pretty cool, South America and Antarctica, which is neat. But we have 3 different itineraries starting in 2021. So in November of 2021 through March of 2022, which is the season for Antarctica, we have a 9-night Antarctica discovery. And again, all of these are round trip Ushuaia, Argentina. And we have 2 one-time cruises, which are 12 nights in length. So our 9-night itinerary repeats itself several times throughout the season, but we only have the 12-night cruises. They take place once. So we have the Antarctic solar eclipse, which takes place in November of this year, November 28th, and that sets you up perfectly to see the full solar eclipse on December 4th from Antarctica. And on that voyage, in addition to our expedition team leaders, we'll have some astronomers on board and really talk you through that once-in-a-lifetime experience.
And that happens once every 400 years.
Correct.
So if you want to see
you
this,
miss it, you miss it.
Yeah, you miss it.
Exactly. It's a total special experience. It's been really popular with people who are celebrating milestone birthdays and anniversaries, and some honeymooners. You know, it's really something very unique. I can tell you right now that all of the suites are completely sold out on that voyage. We do have a wait list for that, but we do have a handful of cabins still available. So if you are interested, you want to ask about it sooner rather than later, because I do believe that we're going to cut off that capacity. So for 2021 going into 22, from what I understand, even though we don't have to, because we have less than 200 people on board, and because we have a lot of space on board, we're still probably only going to fill the ship to about 75 to 80% occupancy. Just, you know, for getting back into travel and cruising, we want to make sure that everything is operating the way it should and that everyone's comfortable on board. We also have another 12-night cruise. It's called the Crossing the Circle Cruise, which is exactly what it sounds like. You actually cross the Antarctic Circle. You get a certificate that says so. A little bit longer cruise gives you opportunity to have more time on doing your landings and explorations. And it's great for people who really love nature and photography. It's also great for those who want to see some different types of wildlife, because you get a little further out, you're able to see some different types of penguins and seals in those areas as well. So I thought I'd share some fun facts about Antarctica if you're not familiar with that continent, but the Greek word Arctic actually means bear. So Antarctica itself means no bears. So a lot of people don't realize, they think, oh, I want to go see polar bears. Well, you're not going to see them in Antarctica. That's the other pole. So that's in the Arctic, there are polar bears, but in Antarctica, it literally means no bears. Antarctica itself is an actual desert. It is one of the driest continents on the planet. And I think because of the temperature and the fact that it's covered in snow and ice, that people just don't think of it as being really dry, but it is. Ice there can be up to 2 miles thick. Our captain knows the difference between old ice and new ice. I think it's pretty incredible that ice can be so thick, but they know how to get through and navigate the different types of ice, and the ice that's been there longer than others. It is the windiest, coldest, and also the highest place on Earth. So pretty cool thing to mark off your list to say I've been to all these places. And there's no Antarctic time zone. I thought that was kind of interesting. Most people who visit there stay on the time zone of the country that they've either come from, where in our case, it would be Argentina. We would just stay on for convenience sake, and we don't have to change our clocks. But you'll also see some little stations here and there while you're there, different stations from different countries of scientists and people that are studying climate change and the atmosphere itself. And they generally stay on the time zone of their home country. So it makes things nice and easy. And you're probably thinking, well, that's got to be difficult because of, you know, the darkness and the light. Well, not really, because Antarctica has experiences about 6 months of complete darkness in their summer season or their winter season. And in their summer season, while we're there, which is November to March, it experiences pretty much 24 hours of sunlight. So it's a very unique and interesting place for sure, that is a little bit different than anywhere that you've ever been before. And yes, before I get a question about it, we do have blackout curtains in our room, so you can sleep for sure. So the weather in Antarctica is probably not quite as cold as you would imagine. It wasn't as cold for some reason as I thought it was, even though this is cold to me. It ranges in temperatures during the summer months there from about 27 to 33 degrees Fahrenheit. So not quite as cold. But the weather does change there very quickly and can somewhat change drastically. So we're always monitoring the weather, and our navigation crew and our expedition teams are always in communication about what's coming and how to prepare for that. But you will experience wind, rain, snow, and sun during your time there. And we'll actually give you and Shannon to pass on to you a packing list so that you know kind of how to pack for an expedition voyage. It's very different than a typical cruise. We want you to be comfortable, but we also want you to pack the right things so that you stay warm or you have layers to peel off. So again, layers is always the key, it seems, in some of these different destinations. But we'll talk a little bit more about what we include on our part with that as well here in a second. So within the summer season there, which again is November to March, we've kind of loosely broken it down into 3 different seasonal changes. So you've got the early, mid, and late season. So the early season is about November to mid-December, thereabouts. And this is when it's great for pristine snow shots. The photography there is really great because it's untouched and people haven't been there doing expeditions, and you're just coming out literally of the darkness into the light. So it's a really beautiful time to be there. It's also a great time to do snowshoeing, and snowshoeing is actually one of our optional shore excursion activities. It is a limited capacity and obviously always weather permitting excursion, but it is complimentary. You do have to sign up though for it in advance. Then we go into our mid-season, which is about mid-December to the end of January, give or take. And again, these are kind of loose dates and time frames. The temperatures start to warm up a little bit, and we call it the birthing season because there's a really good mix of wildlife there. And you will actually see the little male penguins that go and sit on their eggs to hatch them. And yes, the male penguins do hatch the eggs there, as they should. But they're, you get to actually see them doing that during the birthing season. And then toward the end of that season, you may even see some little baby penguins and baby seals out there as well. And then into the late season, which is the end of January to the end of March, it's better for accessibility because the temperatures have warmed up, the ice has melted a little bit, so it makes it much more navigable for the captain to get to different destinations and into little nooks and crannies for you to explore. And you have more chance of mammal viewing. So again, you will definitely get to see the newborns and the new young babies, from the penguins all the way to the seals, and maybe even some whales. It's a great time, again, for whale watching. So speaking of animals and what you'll see, the majority of the time you're going to see penguins, seals, whales, and birds. And those are the things that Antarctica in terms of wildlife is known for. And your expedition team leaders will actually give you briefings on exactly what to look for. They'll talk about these different animals and their habitat. They'll give you guidelines on how to take the best photos of them. There's very strict rules in place in Antarctica. You can't approach the wildlife, but they can approach you. So they'll go through all of that with you. But in terms of penguins there, which have the most personality, I think, you're going to see quite frequently, especially on our 9-night round trip Ushuaia, Argentina cruise, you'll see on the Antarctica Discovery, mostly Adelie, rockhoppers, macaroni, and gentoo penguins, and some chinstrap as well. So the Adelie are the ones all the way in the top there with the blue background. Typical when you think of a penguin, typical, orange beak and a little bit of blue just around the eyes. And those are your normal Adelie penguins that you'll see. The rockhoppers and the macaroni penguins are the ones that stand out a little bit because they've got those funny looking eyebrows that you see there. So in the top right-hand corner, and then the picture underneath it as well. And then the gentoo penguins, you see that in the bottom left corner. Again, more typical type penguins that you would imagine, that have that kind of yellow beak and just kind of the little, what we call the penguin suits, or little tuxedos. And then the chin strap. So the chin strap stands out as well because they're all the way in the right-hand bottom corner there. It looks like they have an actual helmet on with a little chin strap marking all the way around its chin. So again, pretty easy, probably the most easy besides the rockhoppers and macaroni to identify straight away. So those are the ones that are the most common to see on our 9-night itinerary. Then you've got your king penguins and your emperor penguins, and these are not as commonly seen on the 9-night, although it's not completely out of the question that you would see them. But you have more of a chance of seeing those on our longer itineraries where we get you a little bit further out to different places, such as the South Georgia and the Sandwich Islands, or a little bit further down southern part of the peninsula. You'll be able to see different types of wildlife there. So the king penguins actually grow to approximately 3 feet tall, and the emperor penguins up to 4 feet tall. So these are some big birds we're talking about. And of course, those are the ones that when you think of Happy Feet and those types of movies, that's what I kind of picture in my mind there. In terms of seals, of course, they're going to see all different types of seals. They'll be in the water, they'll be laying on the ice. And when you do your ice cruises as well, not just your landings, you will have an opportunity to see them and hopefully see them playing, going in and out, and even around the zodiacs when you're in them. But leopard seals, of course, known for their spots, and they're pretty easy to identify because, of course, fur seals as well, because they're cute and fuzzy. Crab eaters that don't actually eat crab, and Weddell are the most common. And then there are elephant seals. Those are the larger elephant seals, big seals with kind of funny looking faces. Those are very rare to see on our 9-night itinerary. But again, when you go a little bit further out on one of the 12 nights, it's more common for you to see them out there. And they definitely stand out because of their size and their sound as well. And of course, people look forward to always seeing whales and whale watching because they're so majestic and beautiful. The most common whales, obviously, that you will see are orca and humpback, and you see them quite frequently. And again, you could be out in your Zodiac and see them breaching. You could see them from the ship as well in a great way. Sperm whales are pretty common to see there as well. And people have been known to see blue whales there. They are actually endangered species, and it's rare to see them, but it is possible because they do live in Antarctica and migrate there. And then, of course, we have a variety of birds to see, but the most common is the albatross with that massive wingspan. Tip to tip, I believe their wingspan is like 6 feet, something crazy big. And they actually are gliders, so they can actually fly and glide without touching down. And they, dip down and get their prey, but they can actually glide for over a year, 365 days, without physically landing. So amazing, amazing animals. Petrels and gannets, of course, and the kelp gulls are the most common to see. We usually, in our makeup of our expedition team, we will have a variety of different backgrounds and experts on board, and that includes ornithologists, which are scientists that actually study birds. And hopefully they'll be part of that expedition mix on your cruise, and we'll be able to share with you some really interesting, valuable information about the birds that you're going to see. But we'll give you expert photography tips, we'll talk you through, we'll identify all of the different wildlife that you see before, during, and even after. We'll share experiences of who saw what on their landings and their excursions. So all of our ships are certified for ice exploration. They're all a polar category C class, and their ice class is 1B. And that means they have that reinforced hull. They can easily navigate through the ice. Again, we have 18 Zodiacs on our ships, and because of our size and ice certification, we're able to do up to 2 landings per day. This is huge. Not all other cruise lines are able to do 2 landings because of their size or their certification. There are lots of rules and regulations within Antarctica. You can only have about 100 people at a time off the ship at any given moment for these types of tours and expeditions. And we can do that twice a day. So we can get all of our guests off every single day that we're in Antarctica to do those expeditions. Of course, we fully include all of our landings and all of our ice cruises. And ice cruises just means you cruise around in the Zodiacs to look for wildlife and iceberg formations and glacier calving, and don't actually get off. And then we also have our landings where you actually get off the Zodiacs and step onto land and do a fully guided tour with your expedition team leader. So all of those are fully included in the price, but we do have some optional, more adventurous type shore excursions that you can pre-book with us. I mentioned snowshoeing earlier. That one's complimentary. And again, they're all limited capacity, and they are all weather permitting, and that could change any moment based on what the weather tells us for safety purposes. We do have kayaking and paddleboarding. You'll have to have prior experience to book both of these. We'll have camping overnight on the ice if for those adventurous who want to do that. I'm told we'll have a snorkeling option in Antarctica, again, braver than me to get in that cold water, but we'll have a lot of these optional bookable excursions. Again, you can book those in advance before they get booked up. Our expedition team is, again, made up of different people from different expertise levels and different walks of life and backgrounds. We will have naturalists on board. We'll have marine biologists, ornithologists that study birds, glaciologists that study the ice, geologists that study the land, and expert photographers. And they will all make up our expedition team itself. They'll all be giving not only talks about their different areas of expertise and what you're going to see, but they'll talk about tips that you'll need. They'll talk about safety briefings that you'll need to have, and the whole process of gearing up and getting into your Zodiacs, and then once you arrive, how you disembark the Zodiac and that type of thing. We try to prepare you as much as we can in advance, again, giving you a packing list so that you're packed and you're pretty prepared there. But we do tell you to leave your big heavy coat at home. You don't need that big jacket because we give you your own Atlas Ocean Voyages parka, and that is yours to keep as a souvenir. It'll be a bright green color for safety purposes. We need to see everybody and everyone stays together during the expeditions, but you actually do get to keep this lovely parka. We also give you rubber knee boots that come up over your knees. That is to protect you from the cold water and also from Antarctica itself. And it's also to protect the wildlife from us as we're there, because you can't bring anything that's not approved ashore, and you can't bring anything ashore back to the ship. So there's lots of rules and regulations that your team will go over with you before any of your expeditions take place. And of course, we'll give everyone binoculars and all the safety equipment they absolutely need to make it the most amazing experience possible. Now, I mentioned before that I wanted to show you a few photographs from a former colleague of mine and a great friend who actually cruised in Antarctica. And he was there last February, just before this whole global pandemic kind of kicked itself into massive gear and before ships were pulled out of the water. He was actually on board a ship for 30 days in Antarctica and came back with some of the most incredible pictures. And he took them with his iPhone. So I like to share these because, again, this is what I would do. I'm not a professional photographer. I think it's amazing that there are professional photographers and people are really interested in that. But I wanted to show you some of the pictures and what it actually looks like while you're there. It's really incredible, serene. For miles and miles, this is all you see. And, you know, really, truly humbling experience. It's amazing that this is the world we live in, and this is what different aspects of the world actually look like. In this photo, you can see off in the distance a Zodiac going out for a test run. Of course, they do that to make sure that everything is good to go before they have anyone get off the ship. But again, some amazing pictures, and there's some of the penguins up close and personal. You can take pictures of your penguins that you see right there when you're doing your actual landings with your guided tour, or you can also take them from the Zodiacs when you do your ice cruises as well. And again, like this one was taken from one of the Zodiacs during one of the ice cruises. And of course, we learned what these are. These are the chin strap penguins we were talking about, pretty easy to identify from a distance. There's another chin strap there and a Gen 2. And of course, seals, so cute, such furry little things. I want to take one home. And this one, I always joke, this is what I feel like or felt like for the past 18 months or so, locked inside global pandemic. Probably not quite as cute. And of course, your kelp gulls. So some really amazing pictures. And again, I thought I'd just share those. I like to share a little bit of a personal pictures and stories because it makes it more real, I think, than some of these amazing pictures that others take. So here are the 3 itineraries I mentioned before. Of course, we've got our 9-night itinerary, our 12-night solar eclipse, and our 12-night crossing the circle. Again, what they all have in common is they all are round trip Ushuaia, Argentina, and they all cross the Drake Passage. So the Drake Passage is actually where the Pacific Ocean meets the Atlantic Ocean, and it's where these 2 large bodies of water converge. So it has 2 nicknames. It can be called the Drake Lake, which means it's nice and smooth, which doesn't happen very often, but it does on occasion. Or it could be called the Drake Shake. So it's known to be a little bit rough in that area. Nothing you can't handle and nothing that the ship can't handle, obviously, but it does make it a little bit fun and a little bit unique. And I think all part of the expedition experience. I've talked to quite a few people who've experienced both. They've had the Drake Lake on one way and the Drake Shake going the other way. And I think that's kind of a cool thing to say you've experienced both sides of it. But once you cross the Drake and you get into the Antarctic Peninsula and that area, it's smooth sailing from there. And you'll see on our itineraries that we try to map out where we're going to go. So on the 9-night, we always try to take you out to the South Shetland Islands. And then we have what we call days 5 through 7, the captain's choice. And of course, on all of the itineraries, you'll see captain's choice in parentheses. We don't actually give you the specific locations that are named, whether they're near different stations or different sections or different islands there, because we simply don't know what the weather is going to be like. So we don't always try and make these promises. We try to get you as close as we can, and we try to make it as unique as possible, but no two cruises are ever the same based on the weather. So captain's choice is exactly what it sounds like. It is with our captain. Our ship captain is in touch with all other boat and ship captains in the area, and they share information on weather, obviously for safety purposes, but they also share information on ice that they've seen, and they share information on wildlife. So they try and pick out the best spot for you to do the landings and your ice cruises for those days. Now, the two 12-night cruises take on a little bit of a different route. The Solar Eclipse cruise goes a little bit further out to Gold Harbor and South Georgia and the Sandwich Islands, and again, puts you in perfect position there to see that solar eclipse on December 4th. And then again, because it goes a little further out, you may have an opportunity to see some different types of wildlife on that specific cruise. And then also on the Crossing the Circle cruise, the same thing. It goes a little bit further south, not all the way far out, but it does cross that actual Antarctic Circle itself, so you can have that certificate and say, yay, I've done it. But we also have more opportunities for more landings and ice cruises, and obviously more opportunity for you to see different types of wildlife while you're there as well. And I mentioned before, onboard enrichment in terms of our expedition team will be made up of people who are experts in marine biology, ornithologists that study birds, glaciologists, geologists, photographers, you name it. We will have a varied experience in terms of experience of the people on our expedition team will have a varied background, and we'll be able to not only give talks every single day about what you can see and about nature. They'll also give you obviously safety briefings, but also of what to expect and give you tips on how to take the best pictures. There's a lot of white on white with the ice and the sun, and they'll tell you how to get the best photos and how to capture the best memories of your experience there as well. And of course, just to recap, all of our Antarctica experiences include that round trip chartered airfare. And I think that's such an important thing to remember, that it's included in the price of the cruise. Again, it's round trip Orlando to Ushuaia. We'll get you to Orlando, but once you're there, again, the second you step on that plane, it is themed Atlas. We have food, we have drinks. It'll be an overnight flight. There is no fuel stop needed. So it's a direct flight down there overnight. Our business class seats do lay flat. For those who have suites booked on our itineraries, will automatically be upgraded to business class, which is great. And again, it's just the moment you step on board that plane, your adventure begins, and it will be an Atlas experience start to finish. So I always think it's a good thing to remember that that really is a game changer in the expedition industry to get you there. And I know we always have lots of questions, so I figured I would throw it out there. We do have a voyage change policy in place right now. We know that people have questions about things, but we do have a policy that you can actually change your cruise. We have the flexibility up to 15 days prior to the departure. You can change it for any other published voyage. If for some reason you're uncomfortable with traveling or you can't go, you can either change it for another cruise, or if you're still undecided up to 15 days ahead of time, you can choose a future cruise credit option. And that future cruise credit is valid for a year from the sail date that you've decided to change. And it is fully transferable. So if you have a friend or a family member that you'd like to send in your place, you certainly can do that too. We're fine with that. The idea is that we're trying to be as super flexible as we possibly can, given the current global situation right now. So we try to do whatever we possibly can to make you comfortable in terms of travel. And of course, I mentioned before that we include automatically emergency evacuation return insurance in the price of the cruise for every single guest and for every itinerary. And of course, if you need travel insurance options on top of that, we strongly suggest that you do purchase that. You can contact Shannon for her advice on where to get those travel insurance quotes, because again, it's super important, especially these days, that you have that before you travel. And with that, I want to say thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you for spending your evening with me. It's been amazing. But please, please, please reach out to Shannon if you have any questions after the fact. I'm happy to answer some for you now, but if you have any other questions, Shannon knows how to reach me anytime. So I'll be sure to get back to her with any answers to any questions that you have. But again, Shannon's amazing. She is super knowledgeable, not just about obviously Atlas, and of course we want you to go on Atlas, but pretty much any type of travel that you can imagine. She's been in business for a while and knows her stuff. So I'm very impressed with her, and you absolutely are in good hands with her for sure. So feel free to reach out, contact her to book your journey. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time about anything we've talked about or anything that you have any questions about. I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much, Cathy. That was a whirlwind of all kinds of great information. As I said, I'm really excited about this new brand, really excited to try it. And Antarctica is the first thing on my bucket list I want to check off with Atlas Ocean Voyages. So at this point, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask Cathy. And in the meantime, while you're unmuting yourself, I wanted to ask, does Antarctica have a passport stamp?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that before. I'm not sure, but you know what? I'm going to find out.
Okay.
I will ask. I'll let you know.
Anybody else? Just go ahead and unmute. Say that again.
Are there any prior health checks you have to have for travel?
Are there any prior sales?
Health checks.
Oh, health checks. We're working on that now. I'm not sure. We have not made the announcement or decision yet if a vaccine requirement is in place yet for Antarctica or for any of our cruises. I do know that if it is not in place, of course, there will be the COVID testing prior, during, and after or on the last day of the voyage before you return. So I do know that they have all of those, but they are discussing whether or not they're going to make the vaccine mandatory, since we only have 196 guests on board and we're not even filling to capacity. I'm waiting to see what the verdict is on that, and we'll pass that on to Shannon as soon as I know.
What about just general health checkups, like a doctor's physical before you leave?
No, that's not required, but we do strongly suggest that if you're going to participate in any of the more active options, that you are in good physical health. Obviously, on expedition trips, you have to be able to navigate a few stairs down, and you have to be able to take some big steps into what is an inflatable Zodiac. And then once you get shoreside, you also have to be able to step into, sometimes physically step in the water, which is why we give you those big rubber boots. You physically step into, we call them either beach landings or wet landings, into the water and then onto the shore. Of course, we have our expedition teams there to help, but as long as you can navigate some of these big steps here and there. And of course, when you're on shore, it's a little bit like hiking. There is some rugged terrain there. It's not mountain climbing by any means, but it's lots of rocks and some ice and snow. So you just have to make sure that you're okay with that and can keep your footing and are able to physically navigate those types of that type of environment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Or anybody else have any questions for Cathy while we have her?
Nope. Well, that's okay. If you don't, that's no problem. You can always reach out to Shannon anytime. And like I said, she is
I've got Cathy on
Definitely
speed
able to-
dial. So if you think
That's
of something
right.
later, please reach out to me, Shannon at premierluxurytravel.com, and there's my phone number and my website. So please just, if Antarctica is in your future, even if it's a couple years out, it's a very, very popular destination right now because of, you know, everybody being so cooped up for so long. They're wanting to check off those things off their bucket lists. And, you know, like she said, the Eclipse sailing, the suites are already sold out. And I think your ship is pretty much getting there too. So, you know, with the capacity being limited and so forth. So anyway, with that, I just wanted to thank everybody for your participation tonight. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I really appreciate y'all being here. I hope you learned something new. And we will adjourn and say goodnight.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.